Hi guys, and welcome to another Watch Geek video. Today it gives me great pleasure to introduce a watch one of you guys, my viewers, sent in as a gift. So huge thanks to Paul Long for sending this watch all the way from the States to me to Croatia. Now if you haven't seen this watch before, I featured it only once on my channel as a picture when I was doing my square Gshock history video. It's in the part 2 where I covered the weird squares, and this is the one also called as the Poligon model. Now this is the GW056, and in that video I said it is one of my favorite designs from Casio, but I never actually got to get one because they were discontinued very soon after they were introduced. These came out, I believe, in 2005 or 6, somewhere around there. And they were revolutionary because of the way they were constructed. Casio had to redo their shock absorbing structure in order to make the thinnest G-Shock ever. Now usually the thinnest G-Shock is the basic square, which is 13.5 millimeters. But this thing, when it was introduced, was 11 millimeters thick. That's including these prongs right here. So it's actually even thinner when it comes to the body. Now currently Casio does have the Gshock, the GA2100, which is again 11 point something, maybe even, I believe it's slightly thicker than this, but back then when all G-Shocks were pretty large and everything, this was a revolution. I also love the way it has this metal bezel, but it's protected with these prongs. Sadly, this thinness and this very sleek design was also the downfall of this model, because at that time, into late 2000s, the large watches trend started to appear and started to gain momentum. So when Casio launched this, even though it's an epic watch and I love it, it's one of my favorite G-Shocks, it was launched at the wrong time when everyone was wanting to wear bigger, larger, bulkier watches, so it was a market flop. So Casio discontinued it. There are two variants. You have the G056, which is a non-solar, non-atomic, but comes with a very advanced set of functions when it comes to countdown timers, including a referee timer, interval timers and everything. And then you have this, which is the GW056, which is solar and atomic, but comes with pretty basic functions when it comes to the rest of the watch. So you get 5 alarms, a world time function, you get a 60-minute countdown timer and a 60-minute stopwatch. So it does have, let's say, basic functions when it comes to those others, but it is solar atomic, and it comes with this very, very cool screen. Now look at this. Now imagine this when it showed up, when all the Casios was pretty basic with those segments, and then they launched something like this. The watch is amazing. Now Paul didn't just send me the watch, which is used because it's impossible to find these in new condition, but he also included a new set of straps, and the strap here, just like on my Golf Master, makes the most of the body of the watch. So once I change it to this, it's gonna look pretty much brand new, with only some scuffs on the bezel revealing it is a used watch. Now again, thank you for sending this. It really made my day and my week and my month, and I will be wearing it with love. He also included the user manual, but the watch is pretty basic when it comes to operation. The one thing that kinda is a bad side about these models is the fact that if you get a US model, it will work only in the US. If you get a Japanese model, it's gonna work only in Japan. So these are not multi-band 6 like the modern G-Shocks and solar atomic G-Shocks. These are like market specific. So if this is from the US market, so it can only dial into the Fort Collins atomic tower, so it is not gonna work here where I am in Europe, but I don't really care. I'm more concerned about, I like the fact that it is solar, so I don't have to change the battery ever. And as you can see, the battery is at high, and you can actually see the solar cells if I tilt it like this. I don't know if you can check it out around the screen. Very cool. The other drawback of this watch is that the buttons, because they wanted to construct it to be as thin as possible, are actually tucked away underneath here. So these are the buttons. So pressing them can sometimes be challenging when it's on your wrist, Like this, it's not a problem. And I have to admit, after a couple of weeks, like I got used to it on positioning the finger, because I used to press it here, but you have to like slide it underneath, and then it's not that much of a problem. But honestly, even if I wasn't able to operate the buttons, I really wouldn't care, because this thing looks epic. So let me just strap it on my wrist to see how it looks. Then we're gonna compare it to my square, my GW056, and that's gonna be it for today. Okay, so here it is on my 6.5-inch wrist, and as you can see, this is a pretty much perfect size. I like that the screen is really big, the numerals are big. It's one of the most legible G-Shocks I've ever seen. And as you can see, it follows the contour of my wrist, and you can see just how thin it is and how organic it looks with these angles and the way it's shaped. Now let's compare it to my G-Shock square, my favorite G-Shock, which is the GW056. And as you can see, the numerals are much bigger on this, and it's like 2 and something millimeters thinner. Look how thin that is. In fact, since we do have the GA2100 here, this is currently one of the thinnest G-Shocks, and I believe this is thinner. I mean, on paper they're probably the same, but you have to remember that this includes these prongs, while this one is flat. So they are the same thickness, but when you take out these prongs and when you wear the watch, you mostly see this part, and this part, I mean the whole body, is actually thinner than the 2100. Look at it, so cool. This is one of the coolest G-Shocks I've ever seen. I honestly didn't forget about it. I just put it aside, and I was like, one day I'll probably get it, but by the time I decide to get it, they're probably gonna be long gone. You won't be able to find even a used one. I mean, like this, you have to find a used one, but by the time I decide to actually purchase one, they're probably gonna be all destroyed. So huge thanks to Paul Long again for sending this in and making my day, and quite frankly, my summer. So thank you, man, and I really do appreciate it. To the rest of you, thank you for watching. I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.